Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Sue Pittacora with Wavicle Data Solutions, and I'm delighted to be joined here today by Sarang Bapat, the Data Governance Director at Mitsubishi Electric Trane US, otherwise known as METIS. Welcome, Sarang.
Thank you, Sue.
A challenge I think we're all facing, right, is how do we demonstrate and communicate the value of all of our work as it relates to data governance? How do you address that, Sarang, at Metis?
You're absolutely right. It's a struggle. Like there is an initial excitement about the program. You probably get, basic funding resources and all that, and you get rolling. You set up a couple of use cases and like, oh, this was great. Like we did this was pretty good. And then it kind of fizzles out a little bit to say, oh, this is kind of now that mentality of it was a project when it is actually not. It's a culture driven, right? So I look at it this way. So think of like if I borrow concepts from economics, here is what I would borrow. There is I love Shark Tank. I watch Shark Tank a lot. So right after the pitch, um, sharks ask this question that how much does it cost to create that product or make that product? Pretty critical for the business, right? So if you think about data governance, and this goes to economies of scale, something of 200 you make, you sell it at $5. If you make 200,000 of them, you make it at 50 cents. I mean, it's a bare bone economics, right? Economies of scale. If I apply that to data governance, if I'm doing data governance at scale, my ability to search the data that I'm needing for creating a digital product goes down significantly. It was taking me 2 or 3 weeks to find out where the right data is. I don't know whether it is right. I don't know where the quality is. I don't know who owns it. Now I have a data governance platform. You go there, you type the word that you need, and what comes out is all the results that says, okay, here are the 5 data sets. The quality is 85%, 90%, whatever those are. Here are the owners of those. Here is all the feedback that is being given and crowdsourced by other people who use that data set. It's a 5-star asset or 4-star. So before you go into it, you're like, oh, I want to use that data set. I can click a button and say, I'm shopping for that data, meaning like an Amazon interface. And then it goes to the owner of that, gets approved. Now we are making a lot of strides in, I found that data within few hours versus few weeks. So amount of time to search that data was much reduced. So when I'm creating a new digital product, the cost of making that product is a lot less. So my example of the Shark Tank, this is an example. If things are at economies of scale, if the governance platform is at scale, you are going to find all that information at your fingertips quickly. So that's one metric. How many systems do you have in terms of economies of scale into your platform? And we are data governance people, so we need metrics, right? We need to know how much, right? So okay, year 1 we have like 10 systems. Year 3 we have 25. In year 5 we have 50 systems. So that shows now your scaling. Economies of scale is getting. Other aspect is what we call as economies of scope. So say for example, iPod came in 2000, right? And then iPhone came in 2007. But the iPod technology was reused in iPhone. The marginal cost of creating a technology for iPod was zero pretty much. But the incremental revenue to add that feature was there. So now all you're doing is incorporating your existingly created capability, add that to your product and increase the price because you have a new feature. But there was no cost associated with it, right? So if I translate that to data governance, building a data lineage is a regulatory requirement. We have to do it because of regulators. But you can use that same data lineage for your data change management 100 times over. When something changes in the source, right now, you don't know where all it is touching because you don't have the lineage to know that 10 other places that data is going.
Sure.
But if you have built that correctly, you can use it many times over and solve the data change management problem. So now you created 2 capabilities out of 1 capability, really. So you build lineage once, you used it for regulatory purpose, and you used it for your data change management effectiveness. So my metric would be how many of these capabilities have we built, right? So other example would be sometimes you don't need like Cadillac of data quality rules, like extremely well this that. All which would suffice is a data profile. And so that's great. If 20% of the lightweight data sets data profile is sufficient instead of data quality rules, you already took care of that just by implementing data profile. So simple capabilities like that, how many of them we have created is another metric. And the last one is economies of learning. So if you think about it, as simple example as a Tide washing soap, right? What are the components of the soap? Like it's a chemical product, which is your washing powder, and what it interacts with is water. I mean, it's as simple a product as that. They have research development centers on all 6 continents. Why is that? Because the quality of water is different everywhere. Mm. And the type of product they need to create varies. And they would learn from each other on how better to make that product. So in data governance, as we scale and as data stewards get better, we create what we call as communities of practice. That's our economies of learning. So now data stewards start talking to each other to say, how do I do this better with the data? They start asking questions on why is data governance platform not doing that? Like, for example, somebody said, well, I already wrote data quality rules in my system. I'm not recreating it in yours, but can you actually expose the results of my data quality results into your data governance platform? Right. That's the maturity of our platform as a result of economies of learning. So, I mean, economies of scale, scope, and learning, if I get metrics around that, I'm well on my way to show how I've made use of that investment and how this is helping in terms of it may be productivity gains, it may be uh, data change management initiatives very easily done and available, learning across the board, all of that. Right. So I think I use that framework, and this is something that I shared in other forums, and the concept that I have kind of created for myself to kind of think. Excellent. Yeah, you made some excellent analogies as well, too, Sarang. Thank you. Great insights. All right. So finally, what do you think the next year looks like for data governance, and what are the key areas that you think other CDOs should be thinking about for the future as we get ready? I'd say, you know, in the older few years back, we were kind of talking about nice to have a data governance framework. I mean, it's more like just the regulatory. I mean, it's more like we are doing it because of a defensive rationale. It's like because regulators are behind you kind of a thing. Now, as the Gen AI debate is heating up, there is definitely a lot of talk of that's all good, but do you have a good data and a foundation? So, do you have a good data governance, in other words, right? So, definitely a big change in that. A lot of it's coming to the forefront quite a bit. Other thing that you will definitely see is before there was uh, kind of a loose tie between the data governance and the business strategy. Now, what people are asking more and more about is how does this tie to the business outcomes, which is a change. I mean, which is a big change. So, like for example, your mortgage business used to have, okay, do you have exception reports? Sure, we have that. Right? Like bare bone data quality rules, somebody checking it. Okay, great. Now it is more like those 20% of exception reports are 20% of the revenue lost because you can only keep that in your queue for 30 days. And if I'm a mortgage person who is applying for a loan, and if I don't hear from the mortgage company in another week or so, I'm moving on to a new vendor. I'm not going to, right? I'm not going to wait there to say what happened and this and that. So if I have a good data quality matrix, so these 5 or 6 fields were not right, so we couldn't process their mortgage application, and that's why they're sitting there. So I lost pretty much revenue opportunities for servicing and originating their mortgage. Now they're more tied to the business outcome than anything else. So a lot of that is happening. So now business outcome, and as a result, data governance more tied to the business strategy than ever before is what the change I see in 2024. And then couple of other thoughts are more about, if you think about AI, um, it's really giving the analytics capability at the hands of everyone. Before, analytics capability was in the hands of whom? Like data scientists, people who are highly technical. They were the ones using the analytics. Now it is like everybody in the organization. I mean, it's like you can. My son is using a chat GPT. I mean, he's just typing something. He's like, okay, I just reworded whatever I needed for my presentation. I'm done, right? So it's everybody is using, like literally. So from business perspective, what it means is it's talking about the topic of data democratization, right? So CDOs are definitely concerned, like how good my data literacy programs are, how good my data enablement programs are, because data governance is a area where if I educate my data stewards and everybody across the company about, come to the data governance portal, take a look at all the data assets, what they mean context wise in business metadata, take a look at the ownership, take a look at, here is how you can see the quality of that data, here is how the lineage works, go take a look at that. They're going to make lot better analytical products. So ability to take lot more advantage on the AI depends on, directly proportional to how good your data democratization is, I feel. I mean, that is a big area that CDOs will focus on in 2024. Like big initiatives where um, make everybody really understand about the data. It's not just one or two people or couple of groups here and there. No, it's because it's an end-to-end supply chain, right? It's not helping if only couple of people along the hop kind of sort of knows what it is. So even more important to know it across the company, that kind of thing. So data democratization would be definitely something CDOs would look for. And the last point I would make is role of the data steward is changing a lot. And um, before we were talking about the talent strategy and how, it was kind of like a casual role. Now, if you look at like job descriptions, there are ton of data steward roles out there now, specifically data steward role. 100% of your job is a data steward, which is a big change in last couple of years. Also, believe it or not, the other day I met somebody, her title actually was chief data steward,
Oh my goodness.
which is
I've
awesome.
never
I thought,
heard that.
yeah, and somebody at Nike or something like a big company. So that what that's telling is this is a serious business. I mean, this is a pretty important activity, and getting that kind of importance is awesome, because then you are going to make a lot more momentum on an ongoing quality of the data, ownership, educating people. So I think those are the four things I would definitely say CDOs would focus on, like tying it to the business strategy, data democratization, seriousness around the Gen AI topics, and then data stewardship.
Right. I think what we're seeing is the importance of data and the quality of data is only accelerating in the near future based on new ways to use data with AI and where everyone is going. So I think you're right about all of that.
Absolutely.
Very good. Sarang, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to meet with you today. Great insights. And to the rest of everyone, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue.